Hey, Carl, really good to hear you back on the mic, man. It was awesome hearing you talk about Traveler and how you finally got it to the table because, as many of us are well aware, it can be hard to get those white whales to the table. The fact that I've gotten Wrath of the Righteous to the table and we're almost done with the second book, like that's amazing to me. I never thought it would happen. And I'm just super stoked. So congratulations on doing that. I hope it sticks, and I hope you guys have a lot of fun, man. Traveler sounds awesome. I like the idea of having basically a traveling home base. Because as you pointed out, if a character can't make it, no big deal. They're on the ship. That's awesome, man. So anyway, I hope you dudes have a whole lot of fun. Good to hear you again, and we'll talk soon. Peace out.
Carl Rodriguez is the GMologist, GM extraordinaire, the GMologist.
Thank you, Joe. That was Joe Richter from the Hindsightless podcast and the Wheel or Woe Pathfinder actual play YouTube and podcast, the first actual play Pathfinder 2 podcast. It's still out there. It still gets a lot of hits. You can watch it. Pretty cool. Yeah. So, by the way, hello and welcome to the Geomologist Presents. Thank you for listening. On today's podcast, we're going to catch up on some of the games that I've been running and playing. And notably, well, I kind of talked about Traveler already, so I won't talk about that so much. But then other games that I have been running and playing. So Twilight 2000, I need to catch up. Warhammer Fantasy, catch up. And we finally started Kingmaker, and I got to get a session in of Reaver. So a big podcast here for you today, but I'll try to be as brief as possible and talk to you about the games I've been playing, throwing in some of my comments and anecdotes about gameplay and things like that. So anyway, again, Joe, thank you for that call. And yeah, let's get into it. Before it gets too crazy, I got some boxes to take care of. I know I'm probably going to get some more here. So I got 4, and some are easier than others, some are bigger than others. But I guess I wanted to do this because I was excited to get one particular box. That'll be the box I open last. But the other ones, I don't remember what except for one, it's pretty obvious, but the other ones, I don't remember what's in them. So here's the first one. It is a Paizo envelope. The standard Paizo envelope is, how big is it? It is 10 by 12. So it's like 10 by a foot. It's just a tear. And now, with my surgery done and a cast on, I can do this a little better. It still hurts a little bit, but it's easy to do, which is a good thing. And here, Bloodlords, number 6. It is Ghost King's Rage. And it has a really cool picture of, there's a dragon in the background, and there's also a vampire. So yeah, it looks like you get to fight dragons and vampires, which would be kind of fun. Levels 18 to 20. The newest Bloodlords have discovered who's behind the conspiracy that threatens a nation. The Ghost King Geb wants his traitor destroyed. The player character's got to do it and go into the traitor's realm, a place of shadowy horror and mind-bending reality. So Ghost King's Rage, levels 18 to 20. The last part of the Bloodlords, which I'd like to get to the table one of these days. My home group has been wanting to do like a quote-unquote evil campaign, and it's not necessarily you have to play all evil characters in this, but you're in a kingdom where the ruler of the kingdom is a ghost necromancer. So it actually recommends in the player's guide, don't play paladins unless you want a lot of trouble. Or don't play clerics of, I think it's Pharasma, who wants to destroy all the undead, because that would be a problem. So the players are suggest other types of ancestries and character classes that people don't normally play. which would be pretty neat to actually examine if people want to do that. All right, that's Blood King's Rage. Next box. This one is from. I don't know if I'm going to do like reviews of these. I got too many boxes. I have so many like in the queue to review, but you never know. This is from Fun Again Games. It is out of Indianapolis. It is also 10 inches and actually a little more than a foot and a quarter, but it is also 3 inches deep. And it has like a thing to pull, but I'm going to use the knife because, well, it's going to be hard to pull that out with one hand. So hopefully the knife will facilitate, or the box cut will facilitate that. And let's see, it was easier to open, and damn it, it has circus peanuts, which I hate. So I'm going to open it very carefully. But it is, oh, that is awesome looking. It is an Achtung Cthulhu product. I believe that's the only thing that's in there. I don't want to dump out all the circus peanuts, so hopefully that's all that is in there. I'm feeling around. Yep, cool. Nice. And it is Behind Enemy Lines, Achtung Cthulhu Mission Dossier, Volume 1. So, pretty cool. It's funny, the other ones were numbered. Oh, it's issue number 6, so it does have an issue on it. It's kind of funny that all the Achtung Cthulhu products are like issue 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever, to kind of mimic like if it's a comic book, like a pulp action, a comic book. So I'm going to open it up. It's in shrink wrap, and this has multiple adventures, and I think a lot of them. It's like a compilation. So a lot of them you can find on DriveThru or on the Modifius site. That are already done, but this is a compilation of them all together, and they do sell the PDF of them all together. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 missions, an introduction, and appendices. So the missions are Under the Gun, Operation Vanguard, Falling Crystal, or Operation Falling Crystal, the Romanian Imperative, Operation Eastbourne, and 7th Inning Slaughter. So in the appendices has handouts for the different scenarios, and the introduction, it just kind of gives an overview of what they're all about. They're not pretty interesting. These missions aren't narratively linked, but are designed to give you a broad spread of different playing experiences. Introduction to Nazi occult factions, the Black Sun and Knockwolf. So probably really good as one-shots, not necessarily a campaign. They've arranged in a chronological order from 1940 to 1942, which is pretty cool. So actually what's interesting is like Under the Gun, it says, is a short outing which can be followed up right after a quick start or lead up to sharp. It's a great sharp follow up to the quick start, Quick Trip to France, which I run, and it's kind of interesting. So there you go. That is right. Behind Enemy Lines, a adventure compilation for Achtung Cthulhu. All right, the next one is a bigger box. So got to be more careful not to lift it with my right hand, but it is 10 and a quarter by 13 and about an eighth, if we're being precise. And it is also about 5.5 inches deep, tall, whatever, however you want to call it. And I'm cutting it open. It's like tape to cut it. Seems like there's a lot of dead space, and it is bubble wrapped. There's a book in there that's bubble wrapped. I wonder how they determine packaging considerations. And some companies like to have things very tight and straight, and others like to have a lot of wiggle room. Like this one had a lot of wiggle room, and this is a nice book that I've been waiting for. I cannot wait. I've gone over it. We've gone over it in review, and I was on a podcast where we designed an adventure, and this is the Tome of Adventure Design Revised, and this is by Matt Finch, and it is a fantastic book. I love the PDF, and it is chock full of. This one I probably will review at some point. It's a comprehensive start-to-finish resource for designing fantasy adventures for your favorite tabletop role-playing game. System neutral, used with virtually any fantasy game. Random generation tables from a step of the design process, including locations, villainous plots, designing new monsters, bizarre environments, in strange unknown places of existence. Lots of micro prompts in the margins in addition to brainstorming power and process. And it is done by award-winning author Matt Finch. So it clocks in pretty heftily with all the indices, about 510 pages. You know what I also like? No advertisements on the back leaf. It is just all Matt Finch's stuff. Lots, looks like 80. Lots of tables, lots and lots of tables. I wonder if someone has an idea how many tables there are. But chapter 2 seems like it has 86 tables. Chapter 1. Oh yes, I guess the chapters are principles and starting points. It's chapter 1. Chapter 2 is monsters. Chapter 3 is dungeon design, including sounds. And that's kind of what we focused on in the podcast and YouTube video. And chapter 4 is non-dungeon adventure design. So pretty cool. It's really nice. And it has like a nice little chapter 1, principles and starting points, like backstory, location, exploration, continued operations, race against time, opposition, variations of challenge, resource management, milestones and conclusions, all like set like a puzzle pieces. Really nice. It is definitely mostly tables, but there's a lot of, it looks like there's some good dense text to read to give you ideas of how to put us all together. And I love that, like there's one of the first things I'm seeing here in adventure design principles is a necessary elements of a masterpiece. It's like, it has a little key there, and it has all the 9 things that I just kind of listed off. So pretty cool. I will review this. The Tome of Adventure Design Revised. Last box is from Studio 2 Mongoose Publishing, and that one is 10 1/4 by 13, and it is deep and heavy actually too. It is 5.5 inches deep. And does it tell me how much this thing weighs? No, because I use a medium mail rate. But I do not know how much it weighs. Excuse me. And it is also taped. And bubble wrap. Bubble wrap is good. You hear it? Traveler. It is definitely Traveler products. I should have hinted at that. And today, actually, as we're starting, as I'm recording this, is Monday, December 19th. Today we are starting our traveler adventure. Our travel, yeah. All right. So there's 3 books in here. At least one of them is shrink wrapped. And the other 2 books, I will do the other 2 books first. The Robot Handbook and The Glorious Empire. So the Robot Handbook is a book all about robots, a staple of science fiction for 100 years, fulfilling every role. The Robot Handbook is designed to be quick and easy and configure. I will probably review this one too. Then there's A Glorious Empire, as Amy yells at Atlas. We can hear Amy scolding Atlas in the background probably. And The Glorious Empire is an Auslan splinter state in the Trojan Reach engages in the forbidden practice of slavery. So they're like the big bad guys. And the last book, I took a chance on. Oh, it's shrink wrap, not because of any strange content, but probably because it has like a big map inside, or maybe 2 maps actually. So the last book is The Spinward Extent. And these are regions of space, of sort of charted space that they really have not explored before. Yeah, like I said, it was shrink wrapped because it has like maps in it. I'm trying to open this carefully, or the shrink wrap carefully with the box cutter here. And it's one book for the Spinward Extent. So these are to Spinward, of the traditional place to start or what has been sort of a classic traveler, traditional place to start a traveler campaign, which is the Spinward Marches. These are 2 regions to Spinward. It has 2 maps. 2 maps, and these are the maps of the Beyond sector. And the other one is the Vanguard Reaches sector. And actually, I think there was a third-party product way back, Classic Traveler, that had the Vanguard Reaches and the Beyond, but now I guess they've codified them and brought him into the original. I wonder if they talk about that. And I wonder if I have to compare, because I think I have one or both of those little black book size type products, and I wonder if they talk about this in here. But it is, again, like places that are beyond the frontier, beyond the Imperium. There's maybe Imperial consulates and client states out there, but weird stuff, new polities, new alien species. Yeah, pretty cool. Let's see what it says on the back. The Spinwood extents are the border between the familiar and the unknown. Pioneering and adventurous Imperials, Jodani, Ozon, even Vargr have reached the extents. Some have dwelt there for centuries or millennia, but they are far from their ancestral homes. Native races have forged their own empires. In the extents, the daring can make their fortunes, gain fame, infamy, and influence the course of events for entire worlds or distant governments. Alien races, forgotten mysteries, bitter rivalries, and great opportunities await under the light of inconstant giant and dead stars. So it's beyond the edge of charted space, the beyond and the vanguard reaches. The beyond is a borderland between Ozon expansion and human pocket empires, both ancient and new, at the end of imperial courier routes. And the vanguard reaches is the spinward edge of settled space, a sector of proxy states from the distant Third Imperium and Jodani Consulate. So, and that talks about some of the alien species in there. But yeah, this is very exciting, pretty cool. I definitely, like I said, I have the Beyond and the Vanguard Reaches that were, I think they were Judges Guild products, if not that, maybe faster Judges Guild. So I should look at them and compare and see if they kept those UWPs the same. That'd be pretty interesting for me. But that's my Traveler stuff and my Tome of Adventure Design, my Octun Cthulhu stuff, and the last part of Bloodlords, all in one big unboxing. Oh, and addendum to the unboxing, I kind of talked about where I would use it, what I would do. Definitely a Tome of Adventure Design I'm going to revisit, and probably the Spinward Extents. And I did find those two little black book size Beyond and Vanguard Reaches, Paranoia Press. They're made by Paranoia Press, and 1981 is the date. So I know Mongoose has re-released a new copy of Paranoia. I don't know if that's the same company, honestly, but yeah, that's kind of interesting. So hold on. At a glance, it looks like the sector coordinates are different. It looks like in the little Paranoia Press books, they kind of labeled the hexes by subsector and not overall sector. I was looking at a couple of UWPs and they're different as well. So yeah, I don't know. I think they probably changed everything. And I haven't looked in the book per se, but I was looking at the Traveler map, which is kind of official. There's always at least references to it in the Mongoose books. Use the Traveler map to do X or Y or Z, and even how to change it for your own purposes and print it out. Like if you're doing like wars between two space political entities, you can change things up as the war progresses, like borders and all that. And UWPs, like you could change it to different eras as well. Anyway, yeah, so that's a interesting little tidbit about those two little books compared to the new product. Cool. There might be there's some library data at the end of both books, so maybe those are similar or the same or inspiration. It'd be interesting to check it out. All right, what's next? So I have been able to play some games. So what is next is just a short recap of our Twilight 2000 game. The characters have been hired by one warlord who seems to be a nice warlord as far as warlords go, and take care of another warlord who is kind of bad nearby. And the player characters have been able to round up at least one sort of light platoon of the, I guess, defenders of the town that they're in, and they borrow some equipment from the town, some UAZs, which are like if you imagine like a utility jeep, very ubiquitous in the Soviet bloc, and they drive down there. Oh, and they decide to unload the BMP from the boat. They leave some people back at the boat, and it's only the principal characters that are going along with the reinforcements from a platoon that is actually mostly Ukrainian and had a dust up with this warlord's forces and wanted some payback. So the players kind of are using that as motivation. So they approach the town. They run into some hunters. They find out some information, which is kind of cool. That the people in the town don't like this warlord. They have the hunters. They let them go out, but they have their family captured. They've recently just killed the mayor of the town, so there's another, mayor is supposed to be voted on. They actually suggest maybe the players can pretend to be mayor and get close to the warlord and stabby, but the players like, man, I don't know if I like that idea. They decide to hit they find out there's some pickets on the roads leading to the town with both the warlord and, I guess, loyalists, let's call them. So they hit that, take it out. There is some noise, but it's far enough away that, it's definitely not investigated. They send one of the jeeps with one of the squads to cause a diversion just in case on one of the other pickets on another road going in. And then they start driving the BMP and one of the other two jeeps in to the town, and that's kind of where we stopped. I guess I feel like, I don't know if we got started late, or there was a lot of discussion and planning beforehand before we actually hit the guard post picket, and they did a pretty good job. There was some exchange. No, they hit it hard enough and tactfully enough, even though one of the players got caught in the headlights in a way, or caught in a spotlight. The other players were able to off with sniper fire and fire from the flank off the guards at this picket before anyone could get harmed. So it was good solid, good tactics as usual. I'm excited talking about Twilight 2000. So we're going to be playing this and continue this fight probably this Tuesday. And I'm also excited that I'm going to be running an adventure I'm designing called Operation Hot Potato for Twilight 2000. It's kind of fun. It was actually inspired by something that Jason Hobbs wrote on my Discord, that, hey, you have these side quests that could be done. Why not do it as a one-shot? So I'm doing a side quest with other people from the Free Krakow Coalition, allied with the Warta and the leader of Krakow, and they're going to go try to do a rescue op in a adjacent political group, a bigger political group than a warlord having a town, but a bigger warlord who has more influence over some larger geographical area and actually is a rival of Krakow. So we'll see how Operation Hot Potato goes. I'll probably let you know next week. I got 3 players. There's room for 1 more still. I'm at BSerCon, by the way, so running this at BSerCon this next weekend, the 20th through the 22nd. And it's cool. Like, I'm playing in games with my wife, Amy. What am I playing in? I'm playing in a Harn game, a Mecha Hack game run by Eric Salzwedel of Omega 3D Chicken Coop. Is it Chicken Coop? Anyway, he's on BSerCon a lot, and fun to game. I've been wanting to play Mecha Hack with him running for a while. And then I'm playing another game that I haven't played before, like a wuxia type game on Saturday, and then I run my game Saturday evening, and then Amy and I are playing together. We're playing together in that wuxia style game, and then I think it's called Operation something bat. Anyway, and then on Sunday we're playing a Savage Worlds game where we play like Looney Tunes or Toon characters, so it should be pretty, or anthropomorphics at least, so it should be pretty fun. All right, that's Twilight 2000 and some other stuff. All right, so Warhammer Fantasy roleplays continued. We're running through Power Behind the Throne, and the players are in the midst of Carnival. They've really hit it hard. We spent a whole session sort of planning out our Carnival And I thought it was really cool. And then I think the highlights of the carnival so far are one of the players actually beat the champion of Middenheim and is sort of the interim champion right now. And it was a tough, really tough fight. I threw out all the stops. Actually, the player initially charged in, but the champion had a counter charge or a counter attack to defeat a charge, which he did, and nearly, took out the player like right away. The player recovered, used all the tricks that they had, and was able to overcome through attrition and take out the champion, which the champion was not super bothered by, and they've gone drinking and stuff like that. The other cool highlight is that the players managed to. So you probably heard of Blood Bowl for Warhammer Fantasy, and there's really they call it Snot Ball, but it's effectively Blood Bowl in the Warhammer Fantasy verse. And then there's like a semifinals to crown the champion of the Middenheim, and the players managed to finagle their way into a Blood Bowl Snot Ball team. So they've been going to practice early in the morning. I think we've been able to cover in like the 2 sessions, the first 2 days of Carnival, and I think they don't have a match till the next day. And the other highlight, so defending the interim champion title, was actually the second day. He fought 2 people, and our 2 challengers, one of which was an ogre. And the interesting thing about that is both times, so the challenger gets to choose the weapons, and the champion or interim champion can argue, and then it goes to like a marshal. And both times the marshal has decided to side with the challenger. So it was fine the first time because the challenger went for fencing, with a rapier and buckler, which kind of fed into the player's strengths. But then the ogre went for two-handed as Zweihander, and the player had to use as Zweihander and was definitely not as adept as he is with the rapier. Couldn't use his little fencing tricks and all that. And yeah, but he defeated him. It took longer than normal because the ogre is tough, and he didn't have his little tricks and couldn't use the abilities of the Zweihander weapon, but he beat him. Another character is participating in an archery tournament, and didn't do so great the first day, but did really good the second day. It's going to be really hard to beat the Huntmaster, who usually wins, but the player is giving a good showing. Actually, was third place, or third or fourth place, I think, the second day, and did pretty well. So in the meantime, they've been trying to figure out a couple things. One, they found that there's this plot involving taxes of the churches, the wizards, and dwarves. And they feel like it is linked to the Purple Hand. They've actually been able to pretend, or at least, so a bit of backstory. In the initial adventure, one of the player characters found out he was a dead ringer for a Purple Hand cultist named, this is spoilers for the adventure, but hey, if you've come with me this far and you're never going to play The Enemy Within, well, if you're going to run it, it's good information. So I won't tell you the details, and you can always change them because in the new version, there's a lot of little sidebars to change it if you played Enemy Within before in the first or second edition of it, or third edition. No, third edition was totally different. The third edition version of Enemy Within. Anyway, so the player has been able to convince a cultist that they defeated in an initial ambush when they got to the town that he is in fact this guy and is going to stage a coup against the current leadership of the Purple Hand, and this person's with him so far until it backstabs him, right? He's kind of knows this, but hey, maybe it'll work. So they found out there's this tax plot run by this cult, and they don't know who's involved, but they've been hobnobbing and running into all the players, movers and shakers in the town of Middenheim, city of Middenheim, and know who influences the Graf, who has been. They learned he's been depressed since his last wife died. They've met the doctor to his sickly son, and had a good rapport. Kind of made friends with him, and they kind of learned who influences the Graf, the leader of Middenheim, and they have some as a side plot. They're trying to track down the brother of the sorceress that they defeated in the castle Wittgenstein in Death on the Reich. So and they think they found him, but he doesn't seem to have anything to do with the tax plot. But he's a cultist of another god, another chaos god, so he's probably up to no good. They just don't know what yet. And they've made an impression on certain people, so hopefully they can pursue it. I know the Amber Wizard in the group has going to track down an apprentice as he goes up in like career in the town, so they can influence there. They've made a great impression with the military types in the town because of their prowess in archery and on the at the champion circle. So we'll see. Oh, they're going to a garden party where they've been invited by cousins of the fiance of the former champion. So that's going to be really fun. They can learn a lot there, and I think one of the highlights will be the snotball and see how well they do. I really got to review how snotball works. There's a quick way to do it, and then there's a more involved way. So I need to look at the more involved way. I feel like the players want this to be a cool highlight, and we'll see how they do. They definitely. Oh, another character jumped into the ring with the Minotaur in a pit fight type thing, and won a lot of money too, because this is the player whose character has lost their arm, and they went in there one-arm fighting a Minotaur and won, which is spectacular and really cool. He had to pull back his blows and didn't kill the Minotaur, just knocked it unconscious. But that was another highlight of Carnival. So we'll see how things go. We've been playing because it seems like the Warhammer powers that be, Power Behind the Throne, is becoming. We've been playing it like 3 weeks in a row. We're going to be playing it because this coming Thursday is a normal day for it. But the previous Thursday we run alternate games. But then if someone doesn't show up, we'll just default to the game that we're all familiar with, and it's very easy because I know what's kind of going on. I have other backups in mind, but might as well go through Power Behind the Throne because we're really enjoying it. So we'll see. So there'll be good day 3 of the Carnival. There are 8 days, and hopefully they can figure out and solve the mystery of the tax plot and do some awesome things in Carnival in the meantime. So I did. There's something interesting about that, but I'll do that in a different segment. So that's Warhammer Fantasy, and something next segment. Reaver recap. So I'm involved in this ongoing playtest of the Reaver system, of which the quick start just came out. It came out yesterday as I'm recording this, 1/16/2023. It is pay what you want. It is a game system by Joe Salvador for Sword and Sorcery. So you can hear ongoing recaps on both my show, Joe Richter show Hindsightless, and Jason Connolly show Nerds RPG Variety Cast. I play Askold, who is a shaman. He's Askold the Lame. Pretty low dex, but very wise. Well, it's not calling dex. We're calling it different things. I don't remember what it's called. Maybe it's called agility. And wisdom is now called intuition. So I think Joe has done a rework and a revamp for a couple reasons. One, to make it his own system and put a unique stamp on it. Give it a more of a sword and sorcery type of feel with kind of terms that you'd see a la Howard or Lovecraft or Clark Ashton Smith and those kind of works. So big words, multi-syllable, and to stray away from the OGL and all that controversy. So kudos to Joe for doing that. He's revamped the system. I really like the system. It's cool to see the quick start. I want to run this game, get this to the table myself and run it, and then give feedback to Joe to see how it goes. There's a really cool adventure in it with pre-gens. It's a substantial quick start document, like 96 pages, so definitely worth your while. And again, you can pay what you want. I feel like I gave Joe a very fair, I paid a fair price for it because I know Joe's done a lot of work, and the art is really good, both black and white and some color plates. Joe, I don't know what artist you got, but you need to let us know who they are because, it looks really nice, very evocative of the genre, good pieces, and like I said, some color stuff in there. I'd love to get because of that art, I would love to get a print on demand, honestly. So I don't need to really talk about that. I'd love to get Joe on the show here, but I'm sure he's got a full dance card. But it'd be great to get Joe on the show to talk about not just Reaver, but the other stuff he did, like Eldritch Tales, some work for Hyperborea. Anyway, the Reaver playtest. So we just defeated a pretty nasty foe with like this kind of bone mask that was kind of melded to his skin, skull face, I think, is what our allied tribe, the allied tribe we found in these mists, have called him. So we have to cut the bodies, cut the heads off, try to make a funeral pyre of some sort, or at least make it so that it's hard for these bodies to snip their way back together. They killed some of our horses as well. These Skullface tribe led by the Skullface or the Burning Skull, something like that. Anyway, so during the night, something is attracted to the bodies. It is like this undead bear, and we dispatch it pretty readily. The last fight was pretty tough, with actually Osgold having to do some battlefield healing magic, which I like about the Reaver system. And I know some people will disagree with it. I don't know some of you listeners, but magic, you have to roll to see if it goes off. So it's sort of chaotic, tenuous. There are consequences if you miscast, which I like. I love that it's like that in Warhammer Fantasy. I love that it's like this in Reaver, and like DCC is another example where magic is fickle, and I kind of like that idea that magic is chaos and you don't know how it's going to go. It's not fire and forget really easily type of stuff done. I even like it even in like say Hardmaster or Call of Cthulhu. You have to make a roll to get the ritual or the spell cast, and I like that idea. So Joe has that incorporated in there, but Asgold was rolling well, and then we actually in the last fight we actually surrounded the Skullface, and we were able to take it down. And this time, kind of shooting and spearing, we were able to take out this bear as a group. And then our ally of the bear, I think it's a bear tribe. It's definitely like something like the grizzly bear, the cave bear tribe, the tribe of the bear. He led us to his village where our buddy Kato already was there. We noticed something very odd about the village, in that like the young people look like normal humans, but the older they seem to get, it's like these myths are degenerating them into like more Neanderthal like, or a common Homo sapien, a common ancestor probably to Homo and sapiens and Homo neanderthalis. Who knows how evolution works in Joe's world? That's another great thing about Joe's world. It's very evocative. I love his maps. Man, who does your cartography, Joe? Anyway, really nice stuff. So then we, the tribe comes in and meets us. They're like, "Who are you?" We're like, "Oh, we killed the Skullface." We show them the skull. Some people are like, "Oh," some people are like afraid. So then eventually we get to this council meeting when they want to see what we want to do. We're trying to get them to ally with us and attack these Skullface tribe because we want revenge against these red wizards who have destroyed the town that we were kind of hanging out in. I think it's a hometown of like Brutus, which is Jason Connerly's character, and Dyrrachium, I believe, is that city. And these wizards helped overthrow the city, and we want revenge against them. They've tried to mess with my hometown and my people. They've messed with the other. Actually, I think they took a sacred weapon from Joe Richter's character Wolfgar, and from Laszlo, while they've messed up the city he liked and are messing with his like land and the people who he owes fealty to. So we don't like these people, and we're trying to get the bear tribe to join us. I give a pretty good speech, I feel, and I tell them of the tale of how we slew the Skullface. And it was like I emphasize it was like a ritualistic killing because this is an ancient enemy of the bear tribe and the skull tribe don't get along. We have a really great moment. It's like a great Lord of the Rings moment where one of the we're talking to the leader, the shaman leader, the head priestess, and one of the chieftains says, "Oh, we should take the skull and use it for our own purposes, for our own, for our own power." And before he can grab it, Brutus smashes it. So, yep, we made your decision. We're not going to let you go, steal the Ring of Power thing, which would have been the skull mask of power. And then after that, I think the tribe is shocked. But after that, we have a big, kind of hoorah and resounding cheer. And I think we're getting them to go help us attack the Skull Tribe, and we'll try to take out these wizards. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the really cool Reaver game. Definitely really neat, like the sort of Lost World feel right now, which is very sword and sorcery, right? If you recall in some of Howard's work, in the Southlands, he finds like dinosaur-like, they call them dragons, but dinosaur-like creatures. We've seen undead, we've seen giant spiders. We have these tribe of people that need help. I think I would love to get them out of these myths so they don't devolve. But anyway, that's Reaver. And I think we're playing again in a couple weeks. The last sort of play report is for our Pathfinder 2 Wednesdays. For me, our Pathfinder 2 days. We alternate because of one of the player schedules between Abomination Vaults, which we're trying to finish, and Kingmaker. And this past week was Kingmaker, and we finally started it. We have some really good characters. The one that you might know is BJ Boyd of the Arcane Alienist is in the group, and he is playing a Duskwalker Witch. And the other player characters are it looks like we have a couple fighter types, but different types of fighters. One is like a Eldari. He's going to be a duelist, an Eldari duelist. He might be like a rogue thief class, whatever, rogue thief type. And then we have a straight up fighter that's going to be using a flail and shield, I believe. And then we also have a gnome, sort of storm. I guess he's a summoner, but a storm-born gnome with an eidolon that is is the incarnation of a bronze dragon. And then I think that's the core group there. And we got started, and we really enjoyed it. I don't want to spoil things too much for Kingmaker. I think it's really neat how the opening scene helps you introduce the characters, and you're like at a festival, and it's kind of like how you get to know people and meet people and talk to people. And I was concerned about it because it's not like a lot of action per se, but I think Pathfinder does a really good job of having these subsystems where that are skill based, and there are different subsystems. And this subsystem where you're at this you're at this feast, and you can discover things about a person and get to the other thing is influence them. And as you influence them, the more influence that you gain on these people, the more of a boon you have with their friendship or alliance. And I think it's a pretty neat mechanic, and players did really well. They definitely made friends and influenced people. That's kind of what you want to do. And then after the feast, they're here at this sort of manor / castle, and something happens. There seems to be assassination attempts. So the premise is they're invited to this feast by one of the sword lords in this country of, I don't remember, but the city of, is it Brevoy? I think the country is Brevoy. The city starts with Rostov, and they're invited by this powerful person, and they're going to be given charters to go out into the Riverlands and set up a colony or a county, duchy, whatever. And then Brevoy will become allies with this town, country, charter, whatever the players decide to set up. That's sort of the premise of Kingmaker, right? You eke out your own domain in this sort of Riverlands, Stolen Lands, it's actually called, area. So that they're invited to this feast. That's what happens, and then they have the feast. We do all that interaction of discovery and influencing a lot of different NPCs that may or may not come back in the game if they meet them later on. There are some that were harder to influence than others and to kind of get in, but I think the players surprisingly did. There's a couple that were pretty easy, and they made friends with those that were friendly to begin with. But I thought it was cool that they really tried and succeeded in getting some of the harder ones to do that, to make friends with the other ones. So apparently there's something else going on behind the scenes. At night, the castle is assaulted, and there's these people that are trying to kill the invitees. Yeah, those invited to the feast who are getting the charter. So there's some political thing going on in the background, and we did like the first combat in the game where the players kind of woke up. They hear some strange noise. They wake up. They investigate. Which, yay! I like players that like don't sit back and wait. Kind of are men and women of action, and they go check out what the hell's going on. They go out and see like one of the palace guards dead, and these people standing over them. They hadn't had time. The bad guys hadn't had time to drag him away because of these players' quick actions. So they know they're the bad guys, and they get into a fight, and it goes well for the good guys, for the players. So then they hear more fighting and more activity and shouting down the hall. One of the players, having had an extra feast liaison with one of the NPCs, kind of knows the layout of what the wing is like, so they kind of know what's behind door number 1. So I think that's where we're going to pick up next time when we take up Kingmaker, and hopefully we can get past the first scene, and then they can get out on the road and start exploring the Stolen Lands. That's the goal. So yeah, I had a good time, and they gained some XP. I think they were surprised how much XP they gained. After a couple, encounters, a non-combat and a combat encounter. And yeah, we're on to bigger and better things the next time. That's Kingmaker. And stay tuned for more exciting recaps of that. All right, thank you so much for listening. I'm glad you've made it this far. I just have one more little short thing before I do the outro. I have a question for you all, and this came up not just with me but with another player, and another player who runs other games, and he said that a player told him, one of his players told him that some of the players have been reading ahead. And then we're using that knowledge of reading ahead to predict what was going to come. And my friend, who's a player running this game, was like, "I guess it is what it is. It sucks that they do that." And what he had to do is, of course, modify a lot of things so that you don't quite know what's going to happen. And I've run into that problem before. It's been documented on my podcast and others, where campaign has been totally derailed because someone kind of announced, "Oh, this is, if you go this way, this is what happens. If you go this way, this is what happens," and that really pissed off a lot of the other players. And I know other players, in my experience, have been able to play the same campaign multiple times and are very good about not using their meta knowledge. Is that legit? Is that true or not? And I guess in this day and age, right, you can watch actual plays. In your experience, do players kind of look at that and use that knowledge for their benefit in the game? Has that happened to you? What do you do? What would you do? So saying that, asking that question, it'd be great if I get some answers and some feedback about that. This has been, and you can send that feedback to just as a voice message on the Discords that I'm at. I'm on the Audio Dungeon Discord a lot. The Discord's run by Kevin Madison of Dungeon Musings and Jason Hobbs of Hobbs and Friends and Random Screed. And then I have our own Discord, the GMologist Lab. And you can hit me up on Discord, send me a direct message, leave a message. You can also send that message to the gmologist@gmail.com. You can attempt to leave a message through the Anchor website. I also have a SpeakPipe message link attached to this podcast, so you could leave me a message there as well. And again, thank you very much for listening. TJ Drennan does the intro and outro music. My wife, Amy Lee, does the cover clip art. Hope you've enjoyed the Geomologist Presents and kind of listen to what other players are doing, what other games, that you can see a wide variety of games, all different systems too, which is hella cool, I think. And I'll catch you next time. Take care.